Hello and welcome to the Patrick Chapman Show. I'm Patrick Chapman, and here we go. Okay, we're talking about Polish culture and American culture and comparing the two mainly. And so last Friday was the first day of spring, and there's a kind of tradition in Poland, unofficial, let's say, but it always happens, where the school children, especially in the high schools, always just they play hooky. So it's like a skip day. They just skip school completely unofficially. So it was a shock for me the very first time I was teaching my first year and in a high school in Dobiegniew, and all the kids just ran out of the school, all of a sudden. And I remember the principal was there trying to block the door, and they just ran around. And it was quite funny, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. All of them. I mean, the good kids, right with the bad kids. Like the good kids were leading them, you might even say. And everybody just ran out, and that was it. They go, I don't know, to the forest or to wherever they want to go, home to watch TV or something, or to, I don't know. Anyway, and the thing is, that's funny to me. I think the kids always think, oh, the teachers want to, get us and keep us in the class. And like, no, the teachers are also, fine with that. That means I don't have to teach. I get a free day. We all go to the teacher's room and have coffee, and then we eventually go home. But it was really quite a surprise. And now it's just a tradition. Every year, first day of spring, kids, either just don't go to school or they go and then they leave. And so to kind of combat that, because nothing bad ever happens. Everything, oh, what if something nothing happens. But theoretically, a kid could get hit by a car or break his leg, and then who's responsible, right? So to kind of counter that tradition, some of the schools have started doing a good thing where they have they might have a field trip or a party or or maybe something in the auditorium, some presentations that's fun, something to watch, like a play or something. So what my school did here where I teach, last Friday they put on a sports day, which was great, So I had to get there late because I had a lesson at home in the morning. I got there a little bit late, and so they had a bonfire. They got a bonfire. I get there, there's plenty of sausages. The teachers are standing around talking. A lot of the kids are out playing volleyball, or they were shooting archery and guns. They'd like target practice, because it's a military school actually, so like a little military academy, and they were shooting practicing shooting, boxing, and other things. And so it was a beautiful day, sunny, really nice for the first day of spring, warmish. And so we ate some sausage, and I'm standing around talking with the teachers and just enjoying the day. And it was great. It was really just great, fun thing to do. And a lot of the kids showed up. Not all of them, but quite a good turnout. And so, I'm just following my notes here, make sure I don't miss anything. So about this bonfire, because I talked about parties a little while ago, and this bonfire party, of course, it's not unique to Poland. Anybody can have a party. I have a bonfire, but it's an especially good kind of party when you don't have much. You can, when you're pretty poor, which they were in like the 70s and the 80s before the big change. People didn't have much, but you can always get a few sticks and make a fire, and then have a couple sausages and some beer, and you got a party, and that's great. It's a good, casual, cheap, and there's an extreme contrast between the casual bonfire party. In Polish, it's Ognisko, and a ball. A ball is completely formal. It's a very formal occasion where you get dressed up. The bonfire parties is like a barbecue. Barbecue is a little step up, because then you actually got the grill, where you can, but without the grill, you risk dropping your sausage in the fire, and that happens every time. I think we lost about 4 of them at the sports day bonfire last Friday. And then it's always a question: do you rescue the kielbasa and still try to eat it. You got to wash off the ashes or wipe them off or something. And I guess it depends on how wealthy you are. Nowadays, you might just let it go, because we're doing all right. It's not wartime and it's not communism. But, if you're like me, you try to dig it out anyway and still eat it. Okay. I didn't drop mine, by the way. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I want to tell this story about a special bonfire that I went to one time in Dębica when I was living there, and I was almost done living there. I knew I was going to move to Legnica. I think everything was planned. So this was like the end of my 3 years there, and it was called a herbacharnia. I used to go to this herbacharnia, which means tea shop. It's a tea shop. I don't drink tea. I drink coffee, and they made the best coffee in this place. It was, I don't know if it was like Turkish coffee. I forget what they called it. Some special coffee. Anyway, it was good. And I knew the people very well. I got to know them. So anyway, I'm in this coffee shop, or this tea shop, really, Herbacharnia, in Dębica. And there's a new waitress. And we get to talking, we get to talking, and she invites me to an Ognisko. She had a boyfriend. We weren't flirting, let's say. She just was being very nice, and so I agreed to go. But I barely know her now. I mean, we just met. And there's going to be all these other people. I don't know how many. But I'm like, okay, I'll go. And so I got picked up by somebody. Somebody was driving. And we drove out of town up into the hills a little bit in the forest, where there was a kind of a cabin or a small house. And then outside we had the party. So it's evening. It's quite warm out, like early summer or maybe late spring. And that feeling when you don't know anybody and you're like, and I had been in Poland long enough to speak a little Polish, so I could communicate, but it wasn't so comfortable for me. The couple other things that made it uncomfortable were this. We're out of town a little bit, so I can't really just walk home. I had to get up early the next day to catch a train, and I knew that. And I had that in the back of my head. Like I gotta get up tomorrow and get the train, and I didn't know exactly how I was going to get home, especially since at one point the guy who had brought us in the car left with his car, and now I'm not sure how I'm getting home. And this is when I learned something that I should have already known, and I think I had heard of it and even maybe experienced it a little bit, but it hadn't sunk into my soul yet. Because there's a difference, as my best friend always says, between knowing and knowing. There's a difference between knowing and knowing. And so I knew it, but I didn't know it yet. And the thing I didn't know is that unlike an American party, where the frat boys are out getting drunk with their friends, and they'll leave one best friend in the field sleeping. Too bad for him. And we just go home and leave our drunk friend sleeping in a farmer's field or something. They don't do that here. They will get you home. We're all in it together, and leave no man in the field, like the army. No man gets left behind. So. But I was worried, how am I going to get home? And this is in the back of my head. And I'm trying to have fun and enjoy it, but I couldn't really enjoy it. I don't know anybody. Everybody else is talking. It should be fun, but it isn't. I couldn't relax. I couldn't get out of my mind the fact that I had to get home, and I didn't know how I was going to get home. And it started to get later and later. And then the solution came right at the end when it was time for all of us to leave together. And I'm like, okay, here's where I find out the answer to what I've been worried about all night. And it's that they had these bicycles. And and here's the big difference too. If Americans are going to ride bicycles anywhere, they're going to have perfect bicycles, and they're going to have the helmet and the lights and the, brand new everything, and get the health insurance, and just got everything perfect before they even start the expedition. And here, these are the oldest, crappiest, rattling, like barely rideable bicycles that are like 3 of them and 6 people. So we got, I got a girl on the back, and we rode home all the way. The moon was out, so we had plenty of light from the moon on these just horrible bicycles that were rideable. They were like, as bad as they could be, they were rideable, and we rode with 2 people on each, bumping all the way. And it was so much fun. It's like that is the first moment I started having fun at the party. And it was mostly downhill because we were up in the hills coming down to the town. And it was so much fun. And I'm like, of course we would get home. And of course there was nothing to worry about. And it was so much fun riding those bicycles. And we made it home. I went to bed, and that was it. And that's the end of the story. But it was like, wow, just cool. Just so much fun. And I remember that. Okay. So going back to the sports day, I have my sausage, 1, 2, maybe 3, and I'm standing around for hours. I mean, the thing went on and on, but I wasn't really partaking in any of the sports. I was just standing in the sunshine watching, and a little bit of chit-chatting, and at some point, one of the kids comes up to me and asks if I'll join them in the tug-of-war, to be on their tug-of-war team. I'm like, sure, I'll do anything. Yeah, I'm on your team, right? So what's cool is when I'm there and I'm just relaxed and talking to people or eating my sausage, it's like slow, easy Friday, morning, and which turned into the afternoon. And then I get in this tug-of-war, and man, you get so focused in the moment when you start pulling on that rope. It's like it's your team against the other team, and all your muscles are strained, and flexed. And you're fighting so intensely. It's such a contrast to that relaxed, just sitting around doing nothing kind of thing, where you get that. It's almost like if you imagine driving home after work or whatever, and you're thinking about what you're going to do at home, and nothing to worry about, and then bam, you get hit by a car. You get into an accident, and all of a sudden the whole scene changes. So you take on a whole new focus, and you wake up to a different reality that you had 1 second ago. So that was the cool intensity of this tug-of-war, which only goes on for like 4 seconds, or maybe up to 15 or 20 seconds, depending on the strength of the teams. If there's a big overmatch, like one team can pull the other one in about 4 seconds, and if they're even, then it'll go on for a while. And I hadn't done that in decades. I mean, I don't remember the last time I had tug-of-war. I remember doing it as a kid, but it's a fun thing, and it's you can't not have fun doing that. There's nobody that had a tug-of-war and was like, oh, this is so boring. Of course not. So yeah, and everybody's involved. It's intense. You're focused. You're laughing, and who cares who wins? Of course that's easy for me to say because we didn't win. And I'm glad they didn't do it the right way, because there's a right way to do the tug-of-war, and I'm glad they didn't do it the right way. They did it the dumbed-down version, which is probably how everybody does it nowadays, but the right way to do a tug-of-war is with a big muddy mud puddle right in the middle, and you pull the other team into the mud puddle, but that's for another day, I think. I was happy to go home without being covered in mud. Okay, I think that's all on that the sports day and the tug-of-war. This weekend, which is also next weekend, I don't know if there's it's a confusing thing. This weekend or next weekend. In a couple of days, we're going to change the clocks here in Poland, and I know in America they did that already a couple of weeks ago. And I'm a big fan of it. I think it's a great thing. Some people don't like it. Most people, I think, don't like it. I've talked about that before. I'm pro changing the clocks. I hope we never stop doing it. But somebody did have a good suggestion. I saw on the internet, I think on Facebook. I don't know who said it or whose idea it was, so I can't give credit where I should, but I just don't remember, or I didn't make a note of it. Somebody had the idea of changing the clocks not in the middle of the night between Saturday and Sunday, where I guess the official change happens at 2 o'clock, where it goes from 2 to 3, but have it on Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, where 4 o'clock changes to 5 o'clock, and then everybody gets to go home from work an hour early. And you start your weekend, and everybody would be happy to get off of work an hour early, and we would like everybody would like changing the clocks. And in Poland, people usually work till 3 o'clock, not till 5. So that but we would do it differently here. But the same principle could apply. We could change from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and then also get off an hour early. And then somebody else recommended, when I mentioned this, that even better would be, let's say, change when it's 11 o'clock, change to 12 o'clock on that Friday, and that's a good idea. I think, to me, that's a better idea than that last hour. Just change one of the middle hours, like from 11 to 12 on a Friday. But the point is to take an hour out of your Friday work day. I think everybody would appreciate that and would like it. I think it's a great idea, So that's like one-upping the daylight savings time change. Good. Okay. Here's the next thing I wanted to talk about. So let me just tell the story fast, and then I got a couple other things. I'll do this one. So I don't know if it was 10 years ago. I always say 10 years. It was probably a little less, 8 or 9 years ago. I got a text message on my phone on a Sunday, and it's no, in Poland nobody does any work on Sundays, so you don't let your neighbors see you washing the car or washing your windows. You don't do that on Sunday because the neighbors will see, and then they'll know, I don't know if he's really a Christian. So no work on Sundays, and this has affected me a couple of times in my life, or at least one I remember. But that's another story. Let me go stick with this one. So I get this message on my phone, and it's from a woman I don't know named Monica. But she's a friend of mine, and the message is simply, "Can I call you today?" And it's a Sunday, right? And I don't care. I'm like, "Yeah, call me." So she calls me about 5 minutes later, and we talk. And she's in Wrocław, which is about an hour away from me, let's say. And she asked me if I'd be willing to come in on a Saturday. I don't know if it was the next Saturday or if it was in 2 weeks. I just don't remember now. But she wanted me to teach or talk about Polish culture with a guy from India who was working for a French bank. So he's like a big businessman, like the boss of a bank, quite a high-level manager type or boss. And so I agreed to do it. I'm like, yeah, but she said it's going to be 3 hours, right? I'm going to have to talk for 3 hours on a Saturday morning with this businessman. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to do it, but I don't know if I have enough material to talk about for 3 hours. But during the course of that week or two, I don't remember how long, when I had 15 minutes or an hour, I would sit down and write notes about things to talk about, kind of like the stuff I've been talking about on these podcasts. And then adding it. But I was quite nervous about the timing, like would I be able to fill up the time? I didn't want to go for 45 minutes, run out of material, and then have to sing and dance, for another two hours and 15 minutes. And also I didn't know, because this is like a businessman, but I don't know who he is, or what if he doesn't have a sense of humor, or he's like looking at me straight-faced and like, is this what we're paying for? How much are we paying this guy? I'm boring him with talking about kielbasa and Ogniskos, you know, and stuff he already knows or whatever. So I didn't know what to expect, and I'm thinking businessman, and I'm like kind of nervous, but I'm willing to do it. And so yeah, I show up on that Saturday, and I meet Monica. I had never met her except via phone. We met, and we went to the Sky Tower, which is like the only skyscraper in Wrocław, and that's where her office was. And I meet this guy, and you know, he's from India. He speaks perfect English. That's no problem. But he doesn't speak any Polish, and I assume he speaks French, but that doesn't help us any. And I start talking. We meet. And then immediately I was not stressed at all, because when I met him, I saw right away he's smiling. He's a young guy, you know, and we start talking, and we just hit it off, and it was a great conversation. The whole 3 hours. Monica came back, and I had to ask her to stay out for another 10 minutes while we finished what we were talking about. So that was actually kind of cool. It was a great thing. And then I ended up working for Monica, and I still do. But the thing is, in those days, that was before the Chinese virus and the lockdown and everything. So I would go in on Fridays. That was my day to go into Wrocław. I would teach the whole day. The deal was if I would have to have at least 4 hours of teaching time to justify going in, and hopefully I would have more, like 8 or 9 or 10 even. That didn't happen too often, but some days were better than others. Anyway, and I loved that. I loved going in on the train early in the morning and then working all day with breaks, and then coming home in the evening. And that all ended with the Chinese virus, because we had to go online, which was a shock. And I remember it was middle of the week, like I don't know if it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday or what day it was, but it was middle of the week when all of a sudden I'm planning on going to school the next day, or not only just school, I don't even remember what school I was teaching in those days. Now I remember. Yes, it was PWSET here. Not only was I teaching in the school, but I was teaching in businesses, you know, like companies. And from one afternoon or evening, I found out I don't go to work tomorrow, and the lessons are going to be online if they happen at all. You know, we're going online. I'm like, online. I mean, I have a computer. We happen to have a camera, just cause, but I never used it like that. And like, I don't know how to do that. But I was amazed how well it worked, actually. And I'm like, well, we could have been doing this the whole time, you know. The lessons went fine, and and I'm quite nervous. Like, click here, click there, follow the instructions. You know, turn on the camera. Oh, it's working. Oh, amazing! The microphone works. Good. We do the lessons, and we're actually talking, and I can see the person. It's almost like being in the same room. So ever since then, I've been doing both online and in-person lessons. It's better in person, but the difference is honestly minimal. It is better, and I prefer in person, but like I'm communicating here, you can hear me, see me, and you can talk almost like you're with the person. So I was amazed how well it worked, and especially that I was able to do it, because I'm not a technical guy. I don't know. I can barely turn on my computer. So it worked, and that was good. And I've been doing it ever since, and probably will continue to. That's like the whole world changed for all of us, I think. And I have to remember to look in the camera, because I get distracted, and I know it's not professional if I'm always looking out the window. I'm trying to get better at this as I go. Okay, so we got all that. And so that's the story of meeting Monica and having that lesson with that businessman. It was a really cool thing. For 3 hours we talked, and it worked. And I have to say, the first lessons always go well. It's nothing to be nervous about. It's actually the second lesson that you got to worry about. But first lessons are always good. Okay, I'm done with those. And one more thing to say. It's that last weekend, last weekend we opened our football season. So my football team had their first match, and this is what was going through my mind. First of all, on Friday evening, we had what we call a walkthrough. So it's a walkthrough practice, and so we're just in helmets, but not the whole pads, and we're not hitting each other. We do a little bit of running, but we're just getting ready for what we're going to do in the game. We make sure we know everybody who's on the punt team, on the kickoff team, on the kickoff return team, and everybody knows who their replacements are or whom they're replacing if they are the replacement. So if they say, it's time for a kickoff, you run on the field or you don't. Because it can be confusing, or you can get disoriented and we're kicking off. I thought, that's right, we scored. So now, okay, I'm supposed to be out there. You want to get that stuff straightened out well before the match, and make sure who's going to be present and who's going to be absent, so you're ready. And then you go through your what you're going to do on offense, what you're going to do on defense, etc. So great walkthrough. But at that practice, I felt a little bit like a fish out of water, because I had pulled my muscle, my hamstring a few weeks before, and so I missed a practice, and then I was half speed at another practice, so I wasn't really involved in the fast, speedy drills. And I'm like third place in the depth chart of my position, and I'm just not feeling very involved. I'm trying to kind of be involved, but I feel like on the sideline. I don't know. I just didn't feel part of it. Like a little bit like a fish out of water. So, and in the beginning of the practice on Friday, the head coach said we would probably finish early. We'll just go through some stuff. We'll go through this, do that, and then probably get home early, get out of there early, which is great for me because I had to catch a train. So it turned out it got to be 9:00, which is our quitting time, but we're still going, and they still have things to do. And I'm like, we didn't finish early. We're going late, in fact. And I'm worried about my train, because if I don't catch the right train, I won't get home till 6:00 the next morning. And that happened one time. And it's not so fun. And I'm worried about that. So while everybody's finishing up with what they have to do with practicing, the offense had already finished. We're just kind of waiting around so the whole team can come together, say a few words, and then break up and go. Sorry. And so I take off my shoes, change my shoes, and put on my coat. I kind of get ready to go so I can go fast to the train station. Finally, we quit practice and everybody comes together. We have the big talk, and then it feels like guys are talking about stuff we already know. Like, oh, you really gotta hit hard out there, something. I'm like, we know this. Let's go. I'm so worried about catching the train. Finally, we break it up, with a big cheer, and as always, and we got to go to the locker room, and I just got to put my helmet up, put it away, and then run to the train. But my feet are sore, but I'm kind of running, half walking fast. And as I'm approaching the station, which is still in the distance, a good couple hundred yards, let's say, I see that the gates go down on the street. And I'm thinking, that's all right. The gates go down across the street. And so I'm thinking that's okay, because the train that's coming will probably come from Wrocław and go towards, Wałbrzych, or the other one is Szklarska Poręba. So it's probably going to go that way. If it does go the other way, like towards the city, then it's probably not mine. It's probably another train going in. But it might be mine. Or it's going to be a freight train. So I'm kind of watching as I'm still hurrying. I didn't slow down. I'm trying to go as fast as I can. And I get to the station on time. The train still hadn't come. When it did come, about less than a minute later, it was my train. So I could have easily missed it. And it doesn't wait there long. I mean, it stops, opens the door, you get on, they close the door, and it goes. It's not there for a minute. It's there for 20, 25 seconds, um, maybe less. Depends on how many people are getting on and off. It was just a couple. It was just me and another guy, I think, got on at that station. Anyway, so I made it. So that's the whole point of that story. So that was Friday night. I was very nervous about it, but I got home. Everything was fine. So here we go to the game time. So we get there nice and early. I mean, you're hours before the actual game, and we get our football pants and jerseys, and we gradually, slowly, we're out on the field running around a little bit, throwing the balls, and we're also getting dressed in the meantime, putting our pants on, our shoulder pads, etc. And for the pants, you got a belt, so you got the pants, and then you got the belts. And you take a pair of pants. I try to find the small ones because they fit me the best. I find a belt. Okay, the belt fits. That's fine, and that's good. So I'm ready. And then a little while later, a guy comes up to me, one of the big guys, and he asked me to exchange belts with him because his belt doesn't fit, but it'll fit me, right? So we trade belts, and it turns out his belt, or the belt he gave me, it comes around my waist to where this end just overlaps this end by about an inch, but you need a good 3 inches, if not 4 or 5, to put it through the buckle and then pull it a little bit, so it'll stay on. And it doesn't overlap enough. It's not long enough. It's too short even for me. So now, and there are no other belts. Everybody's got his belt except me. I don't have a belt. I got a short belt. So I keep it in my pants, but I can't buckle it. And I'm like, great, I'm on this stupid team. I feel like a fish out of water. I don't know if I belong here. I'm third in my position. I'm pulling up my pants. They don't have a belt. All right, whatever. But I want to have fun, right? So I'm trying to enjoy it. I go out on the field, we do some more warm-ups, etc., and then we all come together in the locker room, and then or near it, and then we walk around as a team to the entrance of the field where we're going to make our big entrance. Even though we'd all already been out there, but this is our team entrance. Where my phone is ringing. Hang on, to see what this is, and I'll call him back later. Sorry about that. This never happens. My phone never rings. Nobody calls me. I don't even know how to turn off my phone. I hit the red one. It doesn't go off. What do I gotta do? Okay, it's off. Okay, I'll call that person back later. I don't even know who it is. It's just a number, probably an advertisement. Yeah, nobody calls me. I don't get calls. Okay. So we're walking out to make our big entrance with the smoke blowing at the green smoke, which is our color, and the flags, and we cheer when we enter the field, like hurrah! But as we're walking there, a teammate says, "Oh, you don't have cleats?" He points at my shoes. What? You don't have cleats? Because I don't have cleats. I wear exactly these things, which I like actually. These are great shoes for football. They're kind of like cleats. They got these nubs on them. But it's a little bit softer rubber than the hard plastic cleats, and they're pretty good on grass. They'll stick, even on the grass. If the grass is wet, maybe not so well. Maybe the cleats are better, and especially if it's muddy, maybe. But they're not bad, even on the natural grass. But we play on artificial surface, turf, like fake grass. So it's plastic. So, and these stick really well on that, and I give them a little advertisement here. This is Solomon is the company. I don't know how my camera works. Solomon is the name of that. And what are they called? Speed Cross 4. Speed Cross 4. And I love them. They're fast. Look at how fast that is. Can you see? That's a fast shoe. And I love these shoes. They're not cleats, but now this guy's saying, "Oh, you don't have cleats?" And I'm like, I feel bad. First the belt, and then this guy's complaining about my cleats. I'm the only one who wears these, and I don't talk too much about it because even though I love them, I feel a little bit weird. And I think everybody looks at me like the weird guy who doesn't wear cleats. But they're actually better. I think they're better than cleats. So anyway. So yeah. So we start the game, right? And the whole time before the game and warming up, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying this beautiful weather, perfect football weather. And I'm thinking, okay, as usual, I'm going to be on the sideline watching. I probably won't get in the game at all, and I don't really expect to, so I'm not going to be disappointed. But but then there's always a chance if the score is very lopsided, one way or the other, winning or losing, and it's the end of the game, like the last minute or 10 seconds. Maybe I'll get in there for a play or two. But even then, so what? So I'm going to be on the sideline watching, and that's what I expect. Now, I always wear an ankle brace on my right ankle because I got a weak ankle. And I wear this brace. It's very old. I should have brought that to show you, but it's old. I need a new one. But I wear it, and so I had put it on, and after the first half, or even before the first half, second half, I think it was beginning of the second half mainly. After standing around on the sideline the whole time watching the game, that normally I'm running, so the blood's flowing, the muscles are being used, and the brace loosens up a little bit, and so it's nothing bad. But now I'm just standing around, and the blood starts getting cut off, and my foot starts hurting, and I'm kind of. So at one point I decided, okay, I can't stand it. I have to fix this. So I sit down on a bench and I loosen it a little bit. I take off my shoe, I loosen the thing, the brace, and then I stand up again watching, but it's still kind of hurting. And I'm like, do I got to do that again? Like, what's going on? All right. Now I lose track of time. I don't know if it's third quarter or fourth quarter, but we had been winning the whole game. We went up, we took a lead, and then they scored, but we kept the lead the whole way, I think. Yeah. And now we're up 30 to 7. We got 30, they got 7, and we're going to win this game easily. We're doing real well. And the coach says to me, Chapman, you're in at S. S is my position. It's one of the receivers, right? So I'm thinking, great, I'm going. Immediately, I forgot about my foot pain. It just stopped hurting. It's like, and I start doing my stretches and my jumping, and I'm like getting warmed up a little bit because I'd been standing around doing nothing all day. And so now I'm getting stretched out and warmed up. My foot pain was gone. My adrenaline is up. My heart's beating. My eyes are big. I'm like, yeah. But in the meantime, the other team still had the ball, but I was ready to go in as soon as we got it. And we did get it. We got it. We got the ball. I got in there, and I played, I think, 4 plays. And on the last of those, we scored a touchdown. And I couldn't even see if we had thrown the ball or run the ball because there was the option. It was a running play with the option to pass to the guy on the right, not to me. I was just there to block, but I did my block, but it was so much fun. And then we got the ball back again after we scored. We scored a touchdown while I was on the field, so that feels good. Got the extra point. We ended up getting the ball back one more time, and so I got in on 1 or 2 more plays. I think 1, and then I was out there when we let the time run out. So it was, but here's the whole point of that is that I could have easily just stood on the sideline the whole game, like to the end, but I got in for a little action, like about 1 minute's worth of actual game time. And the difference is huge. It was fun. I'm excited more than ever. I'm ready to play. I'm hoping I can get in there and catch a ball at some point. And it's like a huge difference between just watching and actually getting there, getting to play. And anyway, a lot of fun, and we won. We won 38-7. So good for that. And our next game is in Poznan in a couple of weeks. Okay, I think I'm done. That's it. Talk to you again in a couple of days.